Hey guys, welcome to another lesson of art at home with Mrs. Miller. Obviously, I'm not inside my house right now because it's gorgeous outside here in Haines, and we just celebrated Earth Day yesterday. So in the spirit of Earth Day, I'm outside and I'm going to teach another art lesson with recycled materials. This time I'm going to be using old magazines to create two different projects. I'm going to do a value scale, and then I'm actually going to create a color wheel wreath, something that you can actually hang up inside your home. Also, the Haines Public Library is still hosting a recycled art competition. So if you have art pieces that you are creating and you want to submit, all you have to do is take a photo of them and send it to education@haineslibrary.org, and do that by May 1st. So this lesson has two parts. The first part is a value scale going from light to dark with magazine clippings, and then the second part is a color wheel using full pages, full color pages of magazines, rolling them up and then actually gluing them together to create a color wheel sculpture. I'm going to start out with the value scale, which is a great way to get your students to learn a little bit more about lights and darks. What you'll need to do is rip out pages of magazine, and you'll notice that I'm using National Geographics because it's really easy to find full color pages. Those are ideal for both of these. Any outdoor magazine or maybe like a hunting fishing magazine, those have a lot of beautiful full color images. Those are great. When you're pulling out your magazine pages, you want to think of a color specifically in mind. Today I decided to do blue. It's really easy to find in a lot of magazines, so I pulled out all sorts of different pages that have the color blue in it. And now what I'm doing is ripping apart these pages and pulling out little sections of blue that I find in each page and setting it aside to my left. When I'm collecting these, I want a full range of light and dark blues. So I'm going from almost white to almost black with a little bit of blue in between. Then I'm going to separate them into a scale, so going from light to dark, and I want you to kind of lay those out in front of you to start out with. Then what I'm going to do is take a little bit of glue. I'm using a glue stick here, or you could use tape or a little Elmer's glue, and a piece of cardboard or cereal box as I'm using, and cut it into a long rectangle. And I'm gonna start gluing my magazine clippings, starting with the darkest blue that I have and moving my way up through medium blues, some brighter blues, and then into the whiter blues. Couple things to notice. I am gluing down my magazine clippings as close together as I can. I want to get as many different color variations into my value scale as possible, so I'm showing just little slivers of each color, and it shows more of a gradient at the end. The other thing I wanted to tell you is if your student is having a hard time ripping the magazine, you can also practice with scissors. Sometimes magazines have one way that works really well to rip and another way that's really challenging. So make sure you ask your student to try ripping both directions, from the top to the bottom and from side to side. When you've finished your value scale, you can actually use a pair of scissors and trim off the edges so you have a nice rectangular value scale that shows all those magazine clippings going from the lightest to the darkest. The next lesson is this beautiful magazine clipping color wheel that is created by pulling out those full colored images and actually rolling them up and gluing them shut and sorting them by color. What you will need is magazines, of course, with those big full color images. We're looking specifically for solid colors, as well as a glue. So I'm going to use glue sticks, but I'm also going to use a glue gun later on, a hot glue gun, to help me put it together. And I'm also going to use that same cereal box that I used for my value scale. I'm going to cut out a little circle, and I'll show you that later on. First step of this project is to pull out your full pages of color. So for this one, we actually want not just one color, but all the colors of the rainbow. So I'm looking very specifically for pages that have lots of color all the way up and down on them. So you are going to take one of your pages. I'm going to grab this one that's purplish yellow throughout the whole piece, and I'm going to set my others aside. And I want that purple side to be on the outside of my magazine tube, so I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to fold a corner down. This helps me start the roll, and I'm kind of folding it at an angle here, and I'm going to start rolling. And very slowly, the magazine is going to want to actually be tight on one side and kind of loose on the other because I started at a corner. And I'm actually going to roll around and keep that one side tight. And then take a glue stick. And right before the end, I'm going to glue down that last triangle before it goes down. Make sure to glue all the edges in the corner. And then I'm going to slowly finish rolling the whole thing back up. I want to make sure I press down hard on those edges, that corner that I just glued. If there's any little sections sticking out, you can glue those down. And then I'm going to keep doing it. I'm just going to look for some more colors. This one has these sharks and fish in the background. I want that bright blue, so I'm going to fold on the opposite side and I'm going to start the roll. Keeping it really tight on one side. And it's going to naturally want to roll around that tight side. And then when I get to the last little section, the last little corner, I'm going to take my glue stick and make sure I get all those little edges. And then roll it up. It'll take you a couple tries to get the hang of this. But once you do, then it goes quite fast. The other thing I'm making note of while I'm doing this is what colors I am ending up with in my pile. So if I feel like I have a bunch of greens and blues, I want to go through my magazines and look for some more reds and yellows. So I'm going to lay out all these little cones or tubes of magazine that I have, and I'm going to sort them by color just to give me an idea of what I have so far and what else I need to actually roll up. Okay, so here comes that cereal box I talked about. You're going to take a piece of light cardboard, or I just took a piece of this thin cereal box, and we're going to cut a large circle out of it. I want this circle to actually be able to hold up all those magazine tubes, so it needs to be fairly big and have a cut circle in the center. I'm going to fold this piece of cardboard in half so I can easily cut a half circle out. And then I have my backing that I can glue all my little magazine tubes down to. And then for your last couple steps, you need to organize your color wheel. So you're gonna lay down that circle of cardboard as well as all your magazine tubes and organize them by color. Make sure you have a little circle in the middle and that they're lining up, touching each other fairly well. It's gonna help when you glue it down. I'm making sure that my cardboard circle fits, doesn't show. And then I'm gonna use my hot glue gun. You can also use regular Elmer's glue. And I'm going to lay that cardboard circle down and make sure it's touching all of those magazine tubes. I also chose to add an extra circle of cardboard for structure and a little piece of twine as a loop. Glued that on so that I could hang it up in my house. Once it's dry, you can flip it over and then you can hang it up and enjoy. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching these lessons at home, especially these recycled art lessons as we're thinking about our Earth this week. I hope that you enjoy them and share them with your friends and family. Also, Haynes students, don't forget to submit your recycled artwork to our Upcycled Art competition that is going on right now through May 1st. So you still have a week to submit your artwork, and you can do so by sending those photos to Tracy at education@hayneslibrary.org.